Hey everyone, and welcome to Framer Training. I'm really stoked that you're all here, and I'm excited to see the possibilities that Framer will be able to provide for you guys. I'll do a quick intro. So I'm Trav. I've been designing and building websites for the better part of a decade now. I started out with sort of more template-based tools like WordPress and Squarespace, and then moved on to building out completely custom websites with HTML and CSS and some basic JavaScript. And that's when I discovered tools like Webflow, which sort of changed the game for me. As a designer, these tools were a little bit more intuitive to use. And meanwhile, I've been using Framer in the background for all my interface design work. So this is something that sort of surprises people. But as a UI designer, I rarely ever use Figma. I've always chosen Framer to be my tool of choice. It always felt a little bit more intuitive to me. And so I was able to design really quickly. I got very used to it. And when they released Framer for the web, that sort of changed the game. All my designs and landing pages that I was designing in Framer, in just a couple of clicks, now I was able to publish them to the web as live websites. So I have sort of like deep history with Framer, and I'm excited to start digging in here. This is the website that we'll be designing and building throughout the course. And I'll be using this website to explain concepts like components and styles and plugins and publishing and all of these things. So I'm excited to dig into it. I'm going to use the next few minutes to sort of talk about the ins and outs of the interface. So what is all this that you're looking at, how to navigate it. We're going to get more detailed into this as we go. But for now, I just want to give a brief overview of the interface so you guys know where everything is and nothing is going to be confusing sort of off the bat. So this is the Framer dashboard, and then you can see your team projects on the left and then some of your individual projects here. So once you click into that, you'll see this is sort of a live website. This is the website I published at framer.training. You can see the URL here. On the left here, you're going to get the pages and the layers and the assets panel. So the pages are pretty self-explanatory. So this is your home page. And then if you click new one, you can see you can change the page name and URL here. And you can actually, this is a new feature from Framer that you can start with AI. So you can give it a prompt and it'll generate the page for you. So we're going to keep that actually for a separate module because right now we're going to be focusing on creating custom websites, which is a lot more powerful right now. So that's pages. You can have as many pages as you want, and you can even have subpages. And you could drag those around. But we'll get more into that down the line. So along with pages, there's also layers, which if you're familiar with Figma, this is going to look very familiar. Except with Framer, the parent frames are going to be breakpoints. So you can see that this is my desktop breakpoint. Then if I zoom out a little bit, you're going to see there's a tablet breakpoint and a phone breakpoint. So these are making sure that your website will be responsive across all devices and screen sizes. And the way that Framer goes about this is very intuitive. All the changes that you'll make to desktop will also apply to phone and tablet. And there's a way that we can build this out so that we can minimize the amount of work we've got to do on the other breakpoints. So we'll get into all of that. The assets panel is for all your project assets. So you can see here that includes components that we're using, that we've created on our website, so our project components, and we could drag those directly onto the canvas if we want to. That includes components that we're using from others. So these are third-party components that you can find around the web that you can use on your own project. And then your text and layer styles. So for text styles, you can see that these are reusable styles that you can use for your typography. So this will allow reusing styles from across the web be super easy to use. And then we'll have link styles for outgoing links. You can see there's color styles as well. So for reusing style colors across your website, this is going to be a lot easier to do. Then you have code components, so custom code components and overrides. We'll get into that as well. Outside of that, there's the insert panel. So this is where you can see, you can add predefined components from the Framer team. You can drop in some of your CMS collections, and there's a lot of useful elements here. So you can drop in YouTube video elements, images, GIFs, even music and audio components like Spotify or Apple Music or MP3s. You can also drop in some form components, some icons, interactive components like tickers and slideshow, and we actually use something like that right over here for this. And then these are all useful little components here. And then there's also some utility components, so copy to clipboard, and these are all functional right off the bat, right? So this allows you to drop in components that would typically require code to do. So these are logic-based components, and this makes your job as a designer much easier, right? You can add logic to your website in most cases without needing to code, which is a game changer in my opinion. So that's the insert panel. We'll get more into that as we drop in some components into our site. And then these are, layout, frame, image components that you can drop in. But we pretty much use keyboard shortcuts for all of this. So as you can see at the bottom of my screen here, there's going to be, every time I do a keyboard shortcut, you'll see that pop out at the bottom of the screen. I do a lot of shortcuts, and I use a lot of shortcuts for navigating the interface. So if you ever want to know what I'm doing, sometimes I do it without even thinking. So these shortcuts will pop up at the bottom of the screen so you know what I'm using for what. So here's how you can drop in text, CMS. You can also access that in the settings, but this is where you'll create CMS items for things like blog posts, etc. We'll get into that. And then actions, your action bar is where you can quickly drop in components and create pages, all with keyboard shortcuts. On the right side here is your style panel. So this is, you're going to be spending a lot of time in this. So this is where you define the size of your elements, the positions. You're going to add links, effects, styles. This is where you apply your text styles that you've created in the past, and your color styles as well. You can add shadows. You can align text to the right, center, left. And we'll get into some of these more detailed ones. But this is where you edit the styles of an element that you've selected. So you'll have different styles show up depending on what you're selecting. If you're selecting a text frame, if you're selecting a component, you'll see some of the component variants and variables show up in the styles panel here. And we'll get into this. We'll get into creating your components and adding variables so that you can edit your component info directly from the canvas. This is all how Framer goes about this, is all very intuitive. Here's where you can invite others to your project, and here's where you can publish. So you can see that this, if I click update here, it'll publish to my domain and my test domain, and you can actually change that in the settings. So if I hit Shift, comma, you can go into your site settings, and here's where you'll see the title of your page, the description, and all of this will be used for SEO purposes as well. So this is what will show up on search engines like Google. Your site images will show up on places like Twitter. So if I go here, if I actually open up, let's see, There you go. This is an example of that here. You can see this image that shows up when sharing a link on social networks is what you'll define here. And then your favicon is what will show up in the browser sort of sidebar. So here. Here's where you can add password protection to your web page to lock it for, this is good for client work. Google Analytics code, and here's where you'll be able to add custom code to your website if need be. We won't dig into this too much, but I'll show you where to put it and how to format it. As an example here, this will change the highlight selection color, which Framer doesn't allow you to do yet from their UI. And I'll also show you how to drop in custom scripts. So this I'm using to drop in a custom chatbot onto my website. Here's where you'll do that. In your domain page here, that's where you'll be able to add a custom domain to your project. If you don't see this custom domain, you'll see an option to add in a framer.website domain, which you can use for testing purposes before you go live. Redirects, self-explanatory, staging and versions. Here's where you can enable staging, and that way when you publish your website, you'll be able to publish it directly to your test domain. So changes will not go live automatically. Analytics, that'll show some very basic analytics data, who's visiting your website, how many people, and where are they coming from. And plans is where you can upgrade your plan. So you can see here, I only need one page for the time being, so I'm on the mini site plan. You can upgrade your site. And then your per page settings are interesting too. So once you've got multiple pages, you can actually edit your title, your description, your images, add custom code and such for each of your individual pages. So yeah, that's the basic walkthrough for the interface. And I'm excited to really dig into each of these elements and start creating a website from scratch, which we'll be doing in the next video. We'll be pretty much starting from a blank canvas like this one. And we'll just get started. So if you guys have any other questions, that we can go through them together during our live sessions if you are on the community plan. If you're not, then feel free to shoot me an email or send me a message on Twitter, and I'll be happy to answer that. And I'm really excited for this next module where we're going to just get started building out this website. So we'll catch you in the next one.